locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
This is TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network, a weekly audio safari that features the newest in paranormal discoveries while highlighting the latest and not to be missed TruthFunder.com projects. For truth seekers and true believers, this week's TruthFunders starts now.
Greetings, bonjour, hola, welcome, and hello. This is the TruthFunders live radio show on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. Hello there, I am your host for this weekly look at TruthFunders.com and everything that is paranormal, metaphysical, universal, and, of course, essentially good. It is once, and not once, it's always, all the time, just stepping all over this thing. It's about the light here. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. I am super excited about this week's show as it is a continuation of last week's show. But before we jump into what that was, I would like to, of course, introduce my trusty and always reliable sidekick. He's with me every week. He is the CEO and founder of TruthFunders.com. He's coming to us live from the Bay Area. His name is Mark Schwartz. Hello, Mark Schwartz.
Hello, Art Webb. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing rather spectacular, my friend. Rather spectacular indeed.
That is spectacular. Yeah, it's been a crazy week, man. There's been so much going on. I got a whole bunch of crazy issues of Mad Magazine. Okay, I got to tell you the story real quick. So
before you do, however you're holding your phone, change it again because you're dropping out still.
Okay, how's that? We're doing a little bit better now?
Much better. Much better. Thank you.
Excellent. Great. So I mentioned this the other day on Jimmy Church's show. I called in real quick and on open lines, and we talked about it. I believe in wishes. I believe that if you put it out there, put it out to the world, it comes back to you.
You're preaching to the choir, dude.
Right. So I happen to be a big collector, and I love Mad Magazine. I think it's one of the things that's been helping me cope during the stress of putting on a wedding and getting married at the end of this month. It kind of is my escape from reality. I regress to my 14-year-old self. I read my Mad, and everything's okay with the world. So I put a bid on eBay, and I was trying to get these 2 issues of old Mad Magazine.
What kind of dog
60s.
is back there shaking around?
He just follows me everywhere. So I'm home alone right now. The soon-to-be wife is out of town, and so the dog is following me around. I apologize for that, but he's a good dog, and he might bark sometime during the show.
He's the TruthFunders. He's the TruthFunders official mascot.
He is Henry, the mascot of TruthFunders. Don't let the name fool you. He's a devil. Henry sounds like it's an upstanding citizen, but he's not.
All it makes me think of is Henry and the Hendersons, honestly. I just imagine a big Sasquatch.
Yeah, well, he looks like a small Sasquatch, so you're not far off. So Mad Magazine. So I put this wish out that, I want to win this bid. I wind up losing this bid, like hardcore. Someone outbid me by a ton, and it's like, oh man, oh well, I'll get over it. But I wish I had those copies of Mad. So not 2 days later, I am walking down the street in San Francisco, and I'm looking, and I'm just walking, and there's a box, and the box says free. And I go over to the box, and I look into it, and it's literally 15 copies of old Mad Magazine from the 60s and the early 80s.
Of course it is. The universe likes you, man. The universe is a
one of
big
the ones
fan of
from
yours.
eBay. Yeah, one of the ones from eBay was actually in this pile, and they were in fairly decent condition. It was just someone, getting rid of them or whatnot. And so, what I say is put the energy out there, people, and you will get your high energy in return.
You have to put it out there, but not only that, it's a 2-part process ultimately, because this is something that you and I have come together on many times, and a commonality that we share. Not only do you have to put it out there, but you also in turn have to be open to it coming back to you as well. You have to be keeping an eye out for the signs, and you have to just put it out there, but don't sit there and believe, well, I'm going to put this out there, but nothing's ever going to come of it. You have to keep an optimistic heart as well, and you keep your eyes open. I mean, you went and looked in that that box that said free. Now, what urged you to do that was being open to the return on investment that you asked from the universe. So I think that it really is a 2-part thing. You got to be open to it as well.
I couldn't agree more.
That's pretty funny, actually. Really quickly, that reminds me of something that happened to me this week, very similarly, and I'll be quick about this. I collect vinyl albums. I collect records, and I love doing it for the hunt. I don't buy them online because I think that ruins the hunt. It's when you come across something that you've been looking for that you see, nice. I've been waiting for like 2 years for this. That's a nice feeling.
Right.
But also, on the other side of it, it's something that I can do, and I can always find super cheap albums that are ultimately worth like 10, 20, 30 times what I paid for them, because a lot of people just don't know what the collecting rates are for vinyl records. And the other day I was in Santa Monica in this giant like warehouse record store just flipping through albums, and sure enough they have a sealed version of Alanis Morissette's debut record, Jagged Little Pill, completely sealed, first pressing. It came out from 1996.
Was it like the original pressing, like 1990?
Yeah, 1996 or whatever it was. Yeah.
Wow.
Original pressing, still sealed, $18. It's worth like $800.
Holy S-bomb. Are you going to keep it? Are you going to sell it? What are you going to do with it?
Look, my opinion about albums is they're made to be listened to. Otherwise, I don't like the whole concept of like buying things and then putting them in frames or never opening them and keeping them as collectibles. I mean, I understand people that want to do that, but I don't feel like you get the full enjoyment out of them. So my philosophy has always been that I buy them to listen to them, and then they're also like a retirement investment on top of that. But yeah, I opened it and listened to it right away.
Yeah, I collect vinyl as well, and some of them, I mean, I listen to the majority of everything, but I do have they just re-released the Ghostbusters like 20th anniversary edition.
Yep.
With the Stay Puft Marshmallow. It smells like Stay Puft Marshmallow, this edition of the vinyl.
It's like a scratch.
So I have not opened that.
The gimmicks that they're going to.
The actual vinyl, it smells like candy. I want to eat it.
The music industry is in such crapper that they got to resort to these gimmicks.
Yeah, I know, but I'll buy into them because I'm a nerd like that. I was born in the 80s. I am an 80s sucker,
Me too. Absolutely.
Hey,
888-919. I wanted to give out the phone number real quick. 888-919-2355 is the telephone number here at TruthFunders Radio on IRN. 888-919-2355. And before we jump right back into the interview that we're going to continue from last week's show, I suppose we should fill everyone in on, or at least remind them what it is we were talking about and who we were talking to. Their names are Chad and Alta Dillard, and we are discussing their High Strangeness book concept that just went live on truthfunders.com, yes?
Yes, it sure did. So if you right now go to www.truthfunders.com and scroll down, you will see Chad and Alta's project, and it's called ET Contact in the French Quarter. And you can go ahead and click on that, and you will see their story. You will see the photos that we will be talking about, including the corner that they were taken from that night. You will see an X-ray of the implant that Alta has, and we'll be talking to her about that tonight. And you will be seeing, what they're trying to do by taking this book and capturing it in time and getting it written and published. So you can go there. We'll be talking about the project at the very end of today's show, and it's something that I'm personally going to donate to while we are on the air tonight. And before we get to that, I just want to say thank you guys so much. There's been a lot of email, there's been a lot of contact coming in, and we really appreciate it. So feel free to go ahead and email us at truthfunders@gmail.com, and we will go ahead and get back to you as soon as humanly possible. We try to respond to every single email that comes through, but there's a lot going on here, so if it takes a day or if it takes 3 days, we apologize, but we will get back to you. And on that note, next week is going to be a fantastic week. We have geologist from the USGS, the United States Geological Survey, one of the top geologists, David Schwartz, will be on the show. He is going to be on here and dispelling a lot of the rumors about what happens when an earthquake happens, and the ideas of predicting earthquakes.
How funny. That's really cool. This is the first time learning of this, by the way. We did not talk about this before coming on the air for this week's show. And it's funny that you bring this up and that you mentioned that, because no earlier than, 2 or 3 days ago, I was driving around thinking about the show and thinking, we should do a show dedicated. We talk a lot about like seeking out the truth and bringing out the light and having things rise to the surface that have been, washed as superstition or whatever over the years. And I was saying to myself, what we should do at some point? We should do a show that talks about hoaxes, or at least the other side of it, and uncovering things that are hoaxes, or whatever you want to say and however you want to put it. And this falls right in line with that. Like, it falls right in line with dispelling rumors. So it's kind of funny that we're on the same wavelength without even talking about it.
Absolutely, because there is like we get a lot of stuff coming in the paranormal genre, and my goal and our goal for Truth Funders is to hear all sides of it, from the totally the stories that are different and out there, to people who are creating things and making things happen in the paranormal world, to people who have had experiences, to real science. I want to get the gambit to skeptics. We want to hear it all, because it's not about not allowing in information. It's about getting as much information as possible and then deciphering for ourselves what seems real or what we connect with, and learning as much as we can and deciphering from that. If I was to just watch Fox News all day long, I would think the world is coming to an end. So you have to watch Fox and CBS and NBC and ABC and BBC and all these different stations in order to formulate the correct opinion and get the right idea. So that's really what we want to do. We want to have guests on of reputable guests in all of these genres across the board. And I think next week is going to be a really, really cool episode. David was also was in the article that Jimmy Church was mentioned in on the Huffington Post about the underwater Malibu base. So we will touch on that a little bit, and maybe talk a little bit about that story. I don't know if we'll get to that or not, but it will be a cool show regardless. It's going to be awesome. And we're also going to be talking about real things, real predictions of earthquakes, and what they're doing right now to predict earthquakes in the science field. David Schwartz also happens to be my father, so that's something. I
was going to say, David Schwartz, any relation to Mark Schwartz, was going to be my next question.
He is, and I filmed a documentary in Mongolia, and it was for the United States Geological Survey. They asked me to go out and film, and of course, I got it because of my background, but also because my dad had worked there, so I knew about the position and I applied for it. When I was there, we were there with 50 scientists from all around the world, from Russia to Iran, from China to Japan, England and America. There were just people from everywhere. And they would just, it didn't matter that I, was a cameraman for Real World and that I had worked and been nominated for an Emmy and that I had done all this stuff. They didn't care about me and my camera stuff. They would say, "Come here, Mark, come here, Mark." And then they would just talk about my dad. Apparently, and I had no idea, my dad was he's like the Indiana Jones of geology. And had I known that, I might have actually become a real scientist and followed in his footsteps instead of
that sounds pretty rocking. You know what I mean?
Technology. Yeah, he's been featured on 60 Minutes. Rockin'. Nice. I like that.
There we go. Took you a couple seconds. You got it, though.
Yeah, he's been featured on 60 Minutes a year ago. He's on the news 10 times a year. He's quoted everywhere. He's really one of the top guys at the USGS. So we'll be taking calls from people.
I'm looking forward to this show next week. It'll be a lot of fun. And this is definitely going to be a call heavy show. So make sure you're tuned in live to the program next week. We air live here on the Inception Radio Network every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. if you're somewhere in the middle. We do encourage all of you to tune in live. I know a lot of you are listening to this on a podcast after the fact, but the live show is where it's at, because that way we can interact with you in real time. And this show is all about community interaction, because ultimately it is about you, the listener. Without the listener, there is no show. It's just Mark and I blabbing on about really a whole lot of craziness, and we value your opinion and your thoughts and your engagement and interaction with us. And that goes further to the point with chat rooms and Facebook and social media and all that when we're not live on the air. So definitely make a point to check out Truth Funders all across the board when you get a chance. I want to get to our guest because last time we ran out of time so quickly that we need to jump right back into this. We're talking to Chad and Alta Dillard. MJ, if you could bring them up. When we left off last week, we had just got done talking about the regressions that Chad had gone into in looking at the lost time experience that they had, and he recounted for us the entire kind of regression process and what he had found after going into the regression process. And when we left the show, we were going to jump right back into a two-part question. The first one, which I want to get to immediately, is what was it about last week's show that totally just inspired tears from both of you, Chad and Alta, as well as, Alta, we were going to get into your recounting of the lost time and what you remember coming out of it or being in that middle zone, you called it, so to speak. And hi, by the way, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks again for having us back. We really enjoyed last week and can't wait to share some more.
Neither can I. And I do want to get straight into that question that I asked you about what it was about last week's show and our discussion that actually brought you guys to tears, because that moved me, right? I mean, that came out within the last 2 minutes of the show. We didn't have any time to cover it. I had no idea that there was something that had been said during the conversation that moved you guys so much, and I really am dying to know what that was so we can make sure and try and do it all over again tonight.
Well, kind of two different things is, one that, that our book that Alta especially has been working on so hard on this last few years is, coming to, it's coming.
You're helping us,
yeah.
For the first time, really, and it seems like forever, that truly sincerity from both of you. Mark, I can't even begin to thank you for your kindness, for your generosity and time and effort with Chad and I. It's just, it's very moving because we've hit a lot of brick walls. The idea that this is possibly really moving into a state of fruition is overwhelming for Chad and I.
Well, we're so happy to be able to help out with making that a reality for you guys. I mean, your story is so inspiring and just completely engaging that, of course, we would want to do everything we can to help get it out there more and on a more permanent basis, obviously.
Yeah, and it needs to be captured. It's one of these stories that really needs to be captured in a book. I would read this book hands down. And the way, last week when you guys were talking about your experiences, it was like a slow build up, and then by the time we got to 7 o'clock, Pacific Standard Time, it was on, and you guys got to the French Quarter, and you were taken, and you each had a different experience, and you began to talk about your different experiences. And Chad talked about his experience and meeting blue beings and all this stuff, and it's the kind of thing that a lot of people, I think, maybe they experience it and they're too afraid to come out and actually talk about it. So by you guys coming together and getting this book done and getting this book published, it will be there, and way beyond your time, it will live on, so that other people who may experience something similar will have a way to connect or say, wow, this should be studied, or this is very important. So we are so happy to help you. And I wish that more people out there would, feel free to reach out to us. Just go to truthfunders.com and contact us, or go to Create a Project and tell us a little bit about your project, and we'll reach back. We really do care, and we're happy to help. We hope that the community reaches out and helps you guys as well. And you've been on so many shows. You guys have been on some serious shows, shows with huge audiences, from Darkness Radio.
The ones.
Yeah, the other ones too. Yeah. And it's your story has been out there, and it's one of the things that people are talking about, and everyone takes you seriously because the story, it's so detailed. And it's so
I think
important.
it's also their willingness to say, I don't know. We don't know. We just don't know. Any question that they don't actually know the answer to, they don't try to make something up and fill in an answer just for the sake of having something to say. They just simply state, I don't know. And again, I stated this last week. I'll state that again. It's one of the most compelling things about their entire history is just the fact that they're so open to the idea of not knowing and still being in the process, because this is an ongoing process, probably going to be ongoing until the day you guys die. Hopefully that's no time soon, but answers will continue to reveal themselves as time goes on. Will it not, Alta?
Absolutely. Again, with just such gratitude from both of us to all of you that are, putting yourselves out there to assist us in reaching the goal of actually having this book published. Thank you is just such a small word, and I just don't know how to find bigger words to say that to all of you.
Well, we'll try and do our best by at least giving them all a nice 3 hours of free content that can coincide with their donating to the book. I mean, look, this is a show that will ultimately be a 3-hour interview. If anything, that's worth at least $5 towards their project at TruthFunders.com. I mean, come on, what are we doing here?
Exactly. So from here, I think did we finish Chad's section of his missing time?
We got right to the end of it, I believe.
Great. So now I guess.
Yeah, let's jump into Alta's experience with the missing time and the coming to, because Alta, you did state that there was a certain amount of memory or recollection that you maintained of being in that in-between zone. Was that what you called it? The in-between zone or the middle zone? Something like that.
Right. The between, no memory whatsoever of coming off the corner. Collectively, the three of us, Chad and I and Jacqueline, remember around 11-ish p.m. And then, of course, I have no memory of coming off that corner, and I have no memory of how I'm returned home the next day, but it is, in fact, indeed the next day.
And just to quickly fill everyone in, we're talking about Chad and Alta and their friend Jacqueline's experience in the French Quarter in New Orleans. This happened some years ago. I believe it was 1997. There was an experience of lost time that they had, and around 11 o'clock was when things kind of shut down, and then everybody came to the next day in the morning, and that's where we're picking it up now. Sorry about that, Alta.
Right. So in my case, it appears that I'm the only one out of the three of us that is returned the next day with what I call memory of the between. And in that memory, it is a very profound memory. It's not dreamlike. It's not Twilight Zone-like. It is my reality. And my reality is 1 minute I'm on a street corner. The next thing I know, I'm standing on the edge of a crater. The crater is fairly deep, a large crater. And
is this a crater on another planet or here on the planet Earth? Is this crater like a desolate space, or where is this crater at? What are the surroundings like?
Right. So I have no idea if I'm on another planet or if I'm in the distant future of this planet or the distant past of this planet. I have no idea. The coloring around me is like being in a black and white movie. It's grays, black, white, blonde. As I say, I'm standing on the edge of this crater. It looked, but I have never said that this is where I was because I don't know. But it looked like the old films of supposedly the moon landing.
Interesting.
Down in the center of this crater is a metallic building or possibly a craft. It's rectangle shaped. It's very shiny, and there's no movement down there at all of any kind.
But it's large enough to be a building. I mean, it's large enough that you can't distinguish as to whether or not it's a craft or an actual permanent structure.
Exactly. Around the perimeter of this crater are orbs of light. When I first started speaking about this, it's almost as if it took more time for this to become more prominent to me. These orbs of light seem self-contained, almost as if they were intelligent, all around the circular top of this crater. There was never any interaction between myself and the light. It's just everything I'm taking note of. Then I look behind me. I kind of pivot a little bit. I don't completely turn. And behind me appear to be human-looking people of different ages. Somewhere, I didn't take time to really count, but somewhere between 3 and 5. And they are stacked on, they're like dog piles on top of each other. All are dressed. Nobody seems to be, it's as if they're in suspended animation. Nobody seems to be distressed. Nobody is moving. I don't hear any sounds whatsoever. I turn my attention back to my immediate forward, and all of a sudden then, without any advance warning, there is a being standing right next to me. She's female. She's relatively tall. I would say well over 6 foot tall, because I had to crank my head back somewhat to look up at her. She is my ideal of perfection in terms of her physical beauty. She is perfectly proportioned for her height. She is wearing a bodysuit. She has long blonde hair. She is as beautiful internally as she is externally. I am so happy at that moment to be with her. It's very difficult. I'm somewhat stuttering trying to always repeat this because it is so difficult to find the words of a form of ecstasy that I don't know how else to explain.
I think at one time or another, pretty much the majority of people have experienced that feeling of elation or euphoria that is just too big to put into words. So even though you can't necessarily nail it in terms of the overall weight and how substantial that feeling was, I think everybody can at least relate to feeling that way where they can't describe the words. So it's not too far off. I mean, I'm sure in this experience it was beyond anything even I've experienced, but I think that we've all experienced that at one point or another.
Thank you, Art. You said that so well.
Alta, did the woman look like, was she wearing, and this might sound like a funny comparison, but I'm kind of a nerd, so I'm into pop culture and dorky things, so please forgive me. I'm not making light of it at all. But did she look like Lara Croft from Tomb Raider? Or
if not, describe the physical nature of her, like what she, hair color, or body type, like what did she look like?
Well,
if not Lara Croft.
She said blonde hair and it was like a bodysuit. Was it like a leather bodysuit? Was it just like a one-piece thing? Like, was it a different type of material?
Right. She was wearing what appeared to be best explained with, and forgive me because I don't know who Lara Croft is. I've never seen any of these movies. It appears to be like a spandex bodysuit that is difficult to even describe that it was separate from her skin. Color-wise, as I said to you, the coloring is like being in a black and white movie. Her hair was long, way past her shoulders, and very blonde.
How old did she look?
I don't have age-wise, late 20s.
So, like the ideal age for an attractive woman, obviously.
I've had folks in the past ask me about eye color and such. Jimmy Church actually asked me one time on air when he had us call in briefly, was she wearing makeup? And I found that a fascinating question. I wish we had more of these questions. In all honesty, I was so happy to be with her that I didn't pay attention to her eye color, whether she had makeup on.
Fingernail polish or anything like that.
Absolutely. None of this made a bit of difference to me. I said it's so difficult to describe, but I was just so happy. I've said this before also. If I was a puppy, my tail was constantly in wagging. I was just so happy.
And were you physically attracted to her, or was it more like a spiritual attraction, like a friendship attraction? What were the levels of attraction that you were experiencing?
Way beyond any of those words. Right, I don't know the language. I maybe this may help. I don't know. Probably not. But I clearly felt I was home. I felt that I was. It was a bond.
It was a bond, is what it was.
You know, I hear that from a lot of people who have experienced near-death experiences. That they meet while they're out of it. They meet beings that made them feel so at peace and so at home, and so warm and fuzzy that they did not want to leave. And that's sort of common.
I would like to put the phone number out and ask anybody who's out there if they've had a similar experience or if they've seen something similar to what Alta is describing. 888-919-2355 is the telephone number here at TruthFunders Radio. 888-919-2355. We need to take a short break, but we will make it a quick one, and we will be right back to continue this conversation with Chad and Alta Dillard. Again, their project is up at TruthFunders right now. The book is called High Strangeness, or it is about high strangeness, and we are discussing their experiences, and we will get more into Alta's experience when we return from this commercial break here live on the Inception Radio Network. You're listening to TruthFunders Radio.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free. You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Listeners, this is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called DreamNuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DreamNuage.com. Simple, raw, organic.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
Welcome back to TruthFunders Radio, here live on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. I'm joined by Mark Schwartz. Our guests are Chad and Alta Dillard. 888-919-2355 is the telephone number. You can use Skype to call in as well. We do encourage your phone calls for Chad and Alta, Mark, and myself. 888-919-2355.
I would say if you do call in, and we love that, but just please be respectful, because Chad and Alta, they've had this experience and they are sharing it with us out of the goodness of their heart. So if you do have questions, we would love to hear them, but just please be respectful to the fact
look, the moment they're not, they're
telling
gone. As far as I'm concerned, the moment they're not, I hit that button, or MJ hits that button rather, and they're gone. MJ knows. He knows as soon as anybody starts trying to get fresh with any of our guests, they just get cut off. So there's no point in even really trying, because we're just going to move on, and we're not going to give you the time of the day or even really dignify your lack of respect with any kind of acknowledgement. So
we'll I think you can ask a skeptical question. That's totally fine, as long as it's in good nature. Totally cool.
So Alta, back to you. Go ahead, Chad.
Alta and I are some of the biggest skeptics, that we know. We're always doubting.
You're not going to out skeptic Chad and Alta. They'll go toe to toe with you. You want to try and out skeptic them? Go nuts. They'll go in the ring with you. So Alta, this woman now, so she's standing. How far away from you did you say she's standing, and what kind of proximity and the surroundings of this crater and all that? Put us back and paint the picture visually, if you could.
So she is. All of a sudden, she just appears. As I said, I pivoted back after looking at these folks that were just a few feet behind me. I might add also, I had no concern for them, which is just so strange in this consciousness. But when I pivoted, when I turned back to face that crater, she was there, and her proximity was literally right up against my side. We were side to side, although I was shorter. She, as I said, she was relatively much taller than I was, but we were literally side by side.
Might you describe her as what's commonly been referred to as the Nordics, that kind of tall, blonde, pale, Nordic-looking sort of group that has been tossed around in ufology for years and years?
Again, I've never used that language. In fact, I don't basically use any of the common language that I hear. But, for the sake of the conversation, I would say just by description, probably yes. I've never referred to her as Nordic or Nordic type. If I might also add, I have not said this very often at all, maybe a time or two in interviews, but I had a very strong sense that I was, without sounding of any conceit whatsoever, and I mean that so sincerely, I truly felt that I was with an extension of myself.
I think that people have experienced out-of-body experiences can relate to that. It's almost like you said, you were looking into what you felt was home, and I could see how it was almost, when you're not necessarily looking into a mirror, but you are looking into an extension of the oneness that we all share in such a potent and concentrated way that it's almost slapping you in the face, so to speak.
Absolutely. So as I am in this state of beyond any feeling I've ever had before, I never thought of Chad. I never thought of Jacqueline, my puppies at home. Again, I felt I was home. And so it never entered my mind of anything other than what I was experiencing in that moment. I then looked up. Now, there's no interaction between her and I as far as language or communication. I look up above, my head stretches back, and I'm looking now up into the sky, It's a black sky with what appear to look like, to me, of course, they're stars, but they were so magnified beautiful, as if they were truly diamonds in the sky. I am falling into a state of gloom. Exactly. Very likely could have been. And in this state of bliss that I'm experiencing, I'm from Arizona originally, the Southwest, and to me there's nothing more beautiful than a southwestern sky. I'm having those kinds of emotions as I'm looking up into the sky. Then all of a sudden, one of those beautiful stars began to move, and it started across the sky. I remember very clearly going from a state of ecstasy to moving into a state of terror, almost just that fast. My heart began to race very quickly, as if it was going to beat out of my chest. I became very afraid because it zagged. It went across the sky, and then it zagged, and then another joined in with it. And in this moment of change, I'm becoming so afraid. She spoke to me telepathically in a voice that I'll never be able to duplicate. It was so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And what she said is, she called me by name, and she said, "Alta, don't be afraid. They're just scanning you." And in that very last expression, I then woke up. It's the next day. I'm sitting cross-legged Indian style, as I do when I'm at home private, on my daybed in my living room, and sunshine is blaring through my windows. I'm rubbing my arms. I can feel something in my upper arm, and I am looking around my house, just losing my mind, because where is Chad? Where is Jacqueline? They were nowhere in my sight. And again, I've got an object now in my upper arm that I have to deal with.
And could you immediately tell that the object was there, or was that something that you discovered after the fact?
No, it was immediate, because as I'm rubbing my arms, as one might do when they're waking up, this object had a protrusion from it that felt like a piece of cactus. It was sharp, and my hand ran over it like a cactus needle, tiny cactus needle. But I remember very distinctly feeling like, why doesn't this hurt? This doesn't make any sense. There's no logic. Something is sticking out of my arm. It's tiny, but it's sharp. And my hand is catching it. It's rubbing it.
You can actually see these photos that Alta's talking about if you go to TruthFunders.com and you click on their project. You can see the X-ray, and I want to talk to you about this. This is the same one that you're describing, right? You got an X-ray of what you felt, and it showed up in this X-ray.
That's right. I've had another experience, and I call these unknowns. I've never referred to them as implants because I have no memory of them being implanted. So I've always called them unknowns. I've had another experience since then where I have another object that's in my wrist that won't take an X-ray, but it has been detected on ultrasound. But those X-ray films, those pictures you have, are of that first object that's in my upper arm.
And it's still there, right?
So
it is still there.
So when you went to the doctor and you got an X-ray, what did the doctor say, or what was their explanation for it?
Boy, this is when I'm very grateful that Chad and I have finally come to the conclusion to write this book and now try to get this published, because it's quite mind-blowing, and nobody has ever believed us when we've tried to explain what happened to us when we went to the doctor. There's a lot to that story, but it suffice to say that the object chose to not take a picture. It was not X-ray the first two times. Now, here is an object that's just underneath the top layer of skin that can be felt by fingers. You can actually feel its diameter, its width for the most part. It does seem or appear to change shape. It clearly moves. I can't feel that, thank God, but because I don't know what I would do then. But it will bury itself down to the bone if it chooses to. Or it will protrude in where it literally stands out on my arm like a big bug bite. a lump. But the first two times that the X-ray tech tried to take a picture of it, it refused to take a picture. All it would give was a skeletal picture of my arm with nothing showing there. Now, she began to get quite freaked out, to put it mildly. And by the third time, I couldn't take it anymore. I literally said to the heavens, I said, give me a break. I have to have this picture. I've gone through a lot of, Chad and I have both gone through a lot of trauma over this. So anyhow, it finally, whatever is going on here, finally gave me a break and gave me that film that we've sent you.
Yeah, and I'm staring at it now. And it is, I can see exactly what you're talking about.
I've always thought that it looks, extremely mundane just looking at it in the film, but its properties and its behavior it's very hard to describe.
You could tell just looking at this X-ray that it is something that does not belong there. I mean, in an average person's arm X-ray, you see your bone, you see your arm, and you see this dot, this speck, and it's evident, and it's pretty nuts. And this is some good proof. So, did you just go to one doctor, or did you go to several doctors about this?
I went to the original doctor that was arranged by a MUFON group, a UFO group. As I said, there's a great deal to this story. That doctor, I was asked to get a second picture, and when we tried to make arrangements with that doctor to get the second X-rays, the doctor had told his nurse, or whoever answers his phone, makes his appointments, to tell us that he was out of the country. I refused to accept that. It was about a 2-hour drive for Chad and I to make that trip to this doctor. We literally went back to his office. My behavior is embarrassing because I would never do these things again, but I was so angry that we were being denied help that Chad and I drove back, and he made us wait for 8 hours, and then finally realized I was not leaving until I could get that second picture. I might also add, because time is so short, that a great deal, of course, to the discovery of this in my arm, but it was when Chad woke up, because Chad was, thank God, at home when I finally came out of the bathroom, realizing that this object was truly in my arm. When Chad woke up, he was pleading with me in a silent way to explain what had happened to us the night before. And of course, I'm in shock and I'm in trauma. I can't explain anything. And Chad walked around me and saw that I had very strange handprints around both my arms, as if I had been held or grabbed from behind. These handprints were only 4-digit, and they were extremely long, and they wrapped around both my arms. They only lasted about a day or so. I've had many people ask about pictures. I can guarantee you in 1997, we were not thinking about taking photos of anything or ever telling anybody this had happened to us. So there are no photos
Alta,
of those.
What's crazy about that is I had the same marks on my arm a week ago. I got out of the shower and I realized that I had 4 long red marks on my arm. And the reason why I even noticed it was because when I was doing research for your show, I listened to you guys on a couple of different radio stations, and I tried to not even think about it. I tried to just put it out. I was going to take a picture, and then I thought, no, I just won't even think about it. But it was, I feel like I can relate to you in that particular way. There was just something strange about those marks.
That's totally interesting.
So it's really interesting that you said that.
So in the interest of time, Alta, now, so you come to and you find that you have this unknown in your arm and you're by yourself at this point. At what point do you reconnect with Chad and Jacqueline? Is it immediately after the fact, or is there any amount of time that lapses between then. What's the next thing that happens after this, and kind of wrap up when this it all ties up, so we can move on to the next part of the story, because there continues to be more. Huh.
So it was within probably about an hour after because I didn't wake up, I came to, and I'm in the bathroom, as I said, going through my own trauma with this in my arm, so on and so forth. It was within probably about an hour or so that Chad then
When you,
woke
by the way, when you come to, are you in a panic? Are you calm? What are you experiencing emotion wise right after the fact that you're kind of coming to and regaining your consciousness in terms of existing on this plane anyway?
My eyes popped open. I'm sitting straight up, cross-legged, as I said. When my eyes pop open, I'm still in the memory of her and that crater. And when my eyes pop open, I'm moving from that and the last memory of terror with those stars moving to I began looking around my house, realizing instantly I'm in my house. It's the next day. Oh my God, where is Chad? Where is Jacqueline? But at that same moment, I'm feeling this in my upper arm, and I see a lump in my bed. From where I could sit, I could see into my bedroom, and I saw a lump in my bed, praying that lump was mine, meaning Chad. No idea about Jacqueline. My concern is immediately about both of them, but I see the lump, praying it's Chad. Rather than running to the lump in the bed, because he had the blankets pulled over his head. So all I saw was a long body or a long lump laying in the bed. I go into the bathroom immediately because it's just right there where my daybed's set, the entrance into the bathroom. That's where I immediately go to try to deal with what's in my upper arm. When I come out of the bathroom, about the same time, within an hour, Chad is waking up and getting out of bed, coming towards me in a very puzzled, groggy expression on his face. And as I said, he was silently, I felt, begging me to tell him how we had gotten home the night before and what had happened to us.
So he's looking to you for answers, essentially.
Exactly. We're both looking to each other to explain what happened to us. Chad walks around me, and because I was so busy with the trauma of the front of my body, I wasn't bothering to check out the rest of my body. Because, again, there's much more to that about this object in my upper arm. As Chad walks around me, he is the one who discovered these handprints on the backs wrapped around both my arms. Now, Jacqueline is missing. And I might add, Jacqueline stayed missing to Chad and I for 2 days. So I can't even begin to describe. I've tried desperately in writing this book to describe the fear that he and I were going through. You call Jacqueline. No, you call Jacqueline. No, I'm not calling. You call. We were just doing this dance back and forth because we were so afraid. Finally, Jacqueline and I saw each other. She chose to stay silent for a couple of days, trying to process what happened to her.
Wow, so for at least 48 hours, you guys are completely in the dark as to what happened to her, and you're so just taken aback by everything that's happened that the fear has rooted you in a position that you're not even reaching out to her. You're just waiting to calm down, essentially. That's crazy.
Absolutely, it's insane. I would not wish this on anyone. Not on anyone. When Jacqueline finally surfaced, she handling it very differently because, again, at the time that this happened, Jacqueline was 24, Chad was 30, and I had just turned 40. So to me, we're all different individuals, but I just sensed, and that's all I can say is that I sensed she just chose to handle it very differently. She accepts what happened to her. She has chosen to never go public with this herself, but has given us permission to speak on her behalf, and has since gotten a college degree in environmental sciences. She is very science-rooted, but accepts what happened to her, and has just moved on with it.
You know, I like that you used the word that she chose to handle it a different way, because ultimately I think everything comes down to a choice. Literally, what you do with emotions is a choice. Everything ultimately, at the end of the day, is going to be a choice. And the fact that you recognize that she chose to handle it that way, it wasn't that she was affected so much that she couldn't decide how to handle it, but she did choose to handle it that way. I appreciate and acknowledge you doing that, because that makes a lot of sense to me as well.
And Alta, are you still in touch with Jacqueline? Are you still friends, or did this end your friendship?
No, we are still connected.
That's great.
Not often. She's long distance, of course, and Chad and I travel now, but we are still connected and love Jacqueline deeply.
And it's just like picking up where you left off. I'm sure every time you do get to reconnect with her, whether it be in person or via telephone or whatever form of communication you choose today, I'm sure there's no time lost, no pun intended, but it's just like it was 1997 all over again.
And also, Alta and Chad, I just want to say...
I'm sorry?
I just want to say this real quick. While we've been on the phone, I've donated to your campaign, and you got a donation from MJ as well. And so just while we've been doing this interview, there's been $40 contributed towards your campaign to get your book published. So hopefully, with more time, and if people out there, if you have the opportunity, some people, you don't have the money, and that's okay. If you just share this on your Facebook wall, and if you believe in it and want to get it out there, that helps. Anything helps to help spread the idea of this story and help. There's so much we've just gotten through one experience right now. We're not even finished yet with Chad and Alta. There is so much more to go, and we're not going to be able to get it all into the show today. I know that for a fact.
Unfortunately, we're not. And we do have to take another break here in just a couple minutes, Mark, just so you're up to speed. Also, we do want to take the last 15 minutes or so, at least, maybe 20 minutes of the show to talk about the actual book, what you're going to find in the book, what the process of writing this book has been like, and everything in between for Chad and Alta, and much more about the project in just a little bit here. We're definitely going to get heavier into that. But in the meantime, 888-919-2355 is the telephone number. We would love to take your telephone calls for Chad and Alta. If there's anything you're wondering about that maybe we have missed, 888-919-2355. Now, just in the last few minutes here before we go to break and come back and move on to something else, I want to take this moment to ask you guys this one question, because this is something that's been burning with me as we've done the course of this interview, and I want to know, and not necessarily any specifics necessarily about whether or not this could be the case, but just if it is the case, is there anything about this experience with the lost time, the three of you experience that we just got finished recounting, that you, up until this point in discussing it and telling your story and getting word out there about what you guys have gone through, is there anything that you have held back or not made public yet? And again, I don't want you to actually disclose anything, but just are there things that you have not talked about in for any number of reasons, fear, or there's details that you don't want to get out there for personal reasons, just anything like that? Are there things about this story that people do not know about yet?
There absolutely is a portion of our story that we have never been public about, that we have included in the book. It's huge
about all you
in
can
our
say,
world.
I was going to say, because you probably don't want to disclose it yet, especially if you're intending for these things to come out in the book, which makes a lot of sense to me. It gives people a reason to want to read the book and buy the book. But just knowing alone that there are elements to this that might make a huge difference in what people perceive your story as is exciting enough for me to want to read this book. So we encourage everybody to go to TruthFunders and check it out.
And may I please say thank you publicly to you, Mark, and to you, MJ. We love you both so much for thinking enough of us to contribute to us.
Yeah, we are happy to help. If it was up to me, I would finance your project myself, because I just really believe in it. I think you guys have a bestseller on your hands, and to be at the ground floor of that, and to be someone who helped to contribute to that, I think that I would love to say that I was a part of one of these stories and this book that helped bring awareness to the community and to the world. You know, there's the book I just finished reading, the Amityville Horror, and I've heard interviews with the man who it happened to. I've heard him on the Art Bell show. I've heard him on several different shows, and it's really, I mean, this really happened to him, and he believes that it happened to him. And that story, that book, it sold and it brought the attention and the awareness of what was going on in that area, in that house, to so many people. Your story is in a completely different league, and there are so many elements of it. I mean, we haven't got to the Sasquatch stuff yet, and we haven't gotten to what happened to you at Columbine.
What we'll do is we'll take a quick break. We'll come back, and maybe we can just run through like a bullet list or a checklist and highlights of some of these, like Sasquatch and Columbine and a few other things that we want to make sure and at least bring awareness to in the duration of this conversation. And then we'll talk a lot more about your guys' book, specifics, the project details, rewards, all of that when we come back here live on TruthFunders Radio here on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. I'm with Mark Schwartz and our guests, Chad and Alta Dillard. High strangeness is the topic, and we will be this after back here on Inception Radio.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free. You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Listeners, this is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called DreamNuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DreamNuage.com. Simple, raw, organic.
locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
Listening to TruthFunders Radio live here on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. I am with Mark Schwartz. We've got about 30 minutes left in this particular edition of the program. We are with Chad and Alta Dillard. And again, just as last week, and we anticipated this to be the case, I don't know why we didn't start sooner. We are running out of time very quickly, considering all of the other things that we would at least like to try and squeeze in before the end of the program. So, Chad and Alta, if there's any way we can possibly run through a few of the other things that are going to be covered in your book, just to get people excited about them, what are some of the key or more substantial elements that you think should be at least noted upon here in this particular time?
Yeah, what stories have happened to you that you can tell us just a little clips about?
Well, we still being there in New Orleans, there was many ghost kind of encounter things. I've had an encounter with a voodoo priest that had passed away in an apartment that we lived in, and then when we were out in New Mexico, I ran into a man that his eyes turned totally black, no whiteness, no anything. The whole eyeball was black. So I know that the stories of the black-eyed children are very popular right now. This was a black-eyed adult male.
This was also an area in New Mexico that there's a man that's becoming well-known now. His name is Andrew Bashago, claims that he was, as a child in the 60s, that his father was part of a secret space program, and that he claims that he was time portaled into an area in New Mexico called Cerrillos. It so happens that's where Chad and I moved to. And this is where this black-eyed adult encounter took place. Lots of high strangeness took place up in those mountains of New Mexico that this man claims he was time portaled into. We're here to concur.
He's also running for president. That's his goal for next year, is to run for president. And whether people will believe him or not, I'm not sure. But it's his story is definitely full of high strangeness.
We should do a TruthFunders campaign for his presidential campaign.
Oh my gosh! Some people have actually reached out to him about that, and it's really interesting because his stuff, it's so far out there. It's hard to believe, but the way he says it, and the detail is so. It's almost like you can't not believe what he's saying. There's so much going on there, and so it's a really. For anybody listening, you should definitely Google his name at some point and check out and listen to his story. Jimmy Church did a really good interview with him, and there's been other people who have interviewed him that are. He has so much. I mean, it's a wealth of knowledge. It's really incredible.
I want to know about the Sasquatch thing that Mark mentioned. What is the Sasquatch experience quickly?
So I had a very detailed, invisible Sasquatch experience, but a more physical appearance took place with Chad's father and his adult brother that I'd have Chad describe to you.
Please,
this was right outside the Talladega National, or right around the Talladega National Forest where we lived there
in Alabama.
And
it's not Talladega Speedway in Florida. That's the forest in
Alabama.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's right down the street from the Speedway.
Sasquatch driving.
And right. Yeah.
But his father, who will not speak about this at all.
He doesn't talk about it. My brother will. But my brother's taking my dad to the Atlanta airport early in the morning.
Which is about a 3-hour drive.
3-hour drive. It was just getting light. They see this, what they think is a hitchhiker on the side of the road with a big backpack on. They get close to him, and he said this thing stands up, and they said it's big, hairy. As they pass it, it's probably 8-9 foot tall. As they pass it, it kind of looks at them
directly in the eyes,
pivots, turns, and takes 3 or 4 steps, and into the woods it goes.
As if it was, and it was on this side of the highway guardrail, rather than the opposite. It was on the highway side of it, as if this being was waiting for them.
Another incident, when we first started our journey in our rolling hacienda, we were up in Ohio for a
ghost festival.
Expo, somewhere around Portsmouth. But anyway, I go to take the dogs out for their evening walk when we get lit into the campground, and as we walk up to the house, to the camper, I hear this, what I call a grunt snort, and it was like,
Can you do that? Can you do that again?
Yeah, please. I want to make sure I have that in the clear.
It was like,
awesome,
like that.
Oh, that's so good.
And I stopped, and the dog stopped. The dog's ears went up, and I'm like, okay, time to go in the house. So we ran. I've got the dogs up. Like, time to go in. Time to go in. So we get in. I tell Alta,
a little Australian red heeler and an Australian shepherd that are herding dogs, not dogs that would run from something naturally.
I want to ask you guys, since you do have animals and you seem to be animal lovers, is it your belief or experience that animals are more in tune with high strangeness and are more easily sensing of things going on around them? And do you guys actually look to your animals as a barometer from time to time to see if, there's something going on maybe that you can't quite tell yet what it is?
We used to have a black Great Dane and a Rottie Dobe, and I can assure you that when I had an encounter with my invisible Sasquatch with a girlfriend with me, having this in my backyard, those dogs were clearly knocked out, as well as Chad and Jacqueline happened to be there visiting also when this encounter took place. Nobody gave any attention. It was as if all the household had been knocked out, including the dogs. Now, our new dogs, this Australian red heeler and little Australian shepherd mix, made it very clear to Chad when he heard that grunt snort, they wanted to go in fast. They were not interested in investigating whatsoever what they had just heard.
Yeah, they were ready to get in the house just as much as I was.
So I got all excited because Chad comes in and he's got this look on his face like something has just happened.
Yeah, I was like, something just grunt snorted at me out there, and I was like, Sasquatchy. And so, we had just cooked dinner. We had hot dogs, grilled hot dogs and stuff like that. So she makes a plate, she's got...
I'm going to make an offering.
Yeah, she's got hot dogs and Cheetos and
chocolate,
It's
cookies.
like a 4th of July barbecue.
Yeah.
And then these little cinnamon
jelly candy.
Right. Chad takes this paper plate full of food outside.
I said it. There's a fallen tree right outside the camper, and I set it to where if something messes with it, it'll fall.
It's just a little thin paper plate.
Just a little paper plate, So, get in, go to bed. Before I could even get my eyes open the next morning, before I could turn on the coffee pot, Alta's like, go to the place. Go check. So I go out there.
She doesn't want to.
I go out and look, and the plate is still sitting on this log, and I set it on the round part. It's still sitting there. Everything is off that plate except those jellies.
Cinnamon jellies.
No interest in the cinnamon jellies, huh?
No interest in the cinnamon jellies.
But there's not a crumb.
There's no crumbs on the ground. There's no print. There's no scuff marks.
It's as though it just evaporated.
Yeah, I believe if it was
like
a
when
dog,
Santa Claus eats the cookies.
I was thinking about this reindeer don't like either, I guess.
Right. And Alta's like, could you see a deer running through the woods with a weenie in its mouth? It just
wasn't happening.
It just,
And then again, for sake of time, in that same location, we discovered a woman who had that small RV park, had lived there all her life. She's in her 50s or so. Her husband is a prison guard at the local prison down the mountain. She claims that just prior to us getting there, Bigfoot hunters, whatever that TV show is, had just been there filming in those woods.
Oh, wow.
Right. And then, again, for sake of time, Chad and I are walking our girls down a paved road that is flanked by woods on both sides one afternoon before we left that area. As we return on our return walk, there was no question at all. We were hearing what I commonly have heard called chatter, voices that we could not distinguish the language, but sounded like females and possibly young, were going alongside of us in those woods, but we couldn't see anything. We could only hear.
Wow.
And the dog pulled again as well.
Creepy.
I can hear the truth in your voice too. Like one of the few talents I have in this world, because there are few, but one of them is I can just kind of distinguish through intonation and tone of voice when somebody is lying and when they're telling the truth. I don't know why. It's just something I'm able to do, and the amount of truth that I hear in your guys' voice is just that's what creeps me out. Like that's what stands up the hairs on the back of my neck is just knowing that you guys aren't BSing us in any way, shape, or form.
Hey,
there's a question from Daria on the chat room. Matt, Mark, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So there's a question for you from Daria. It's cool, very cool name. My sister's name is Dara, so I appreciate the name. The question is, do you two believe there's a connection between ghosts and aliens, or do they just perceive them, or do you just perceive them as entities? All of it as entities.
Chad?
In a weird way, I think it's all connected in some kind of like.
I agree with that.
Kind of.
And in my case, I don't know what an alien is or a ghost. In all honesty, again, I know nothing. So to me, it is all connected and not connected at all.
Oh my God, yes, everything is everything and nothing is nothing. Look, my favorite phrase on the face of the planet, you have no idea how much my face just lit up with like a giant smile, because there was not, look, I'll be honest about this. I took acid once, and it really like did a great amount of things for me. And it brought me to the center of the universe, and it just affirmed everything that I've ever suspected or thought would be the case. And the only way that I can truly and most correctly to describe it is to say that everything is everything and nothing is nothing. And that is, you just nailed it. You hit it. Nail on the head. Also, you just blew my mind. Thank you.
Yeah, I get the booby tonight.
Don't start.
And with that, I want to really quickly talk about your project, you guys. So we only have a few minutes left. So I want to go through this and talk about it. So everybody, if you go to www.truthfunders.com right now, you can go there. You can scroll down and click on ET Contact in the French Quarter. That's the name of the project. On the project, you'll see a few things. One of them is a video. There's a picture of the X-ray, and there's a play button in the middle of it. And you can hear last week's show for part 1 if you press play there. You could scroll down. You could read their story. There's like their whole story is in there, but it's just abbreviated. We didn't even hit some of the other things that have happened to them, like shapeshifters, and there's so much that's gone on with the story, and it's really important that the story is written. I can't stress that enough. It needs to be written down and done in a good way. And so what Chad and Alta are asking for, they've done the research, they've done the homework. They're not writers themselves, but they want the story to represent them correctly. They need to work with real people and real professional people in order to get the book written, in order to get the book published, and they have all of this lined up. They are literally just looking to raise the funds. So if you go there, you can see some of the pictures that we had talked about, the X-rays with what I'm calling an implant, which is in Alta's arm.
For lack of a better term, ultimately. Yeah.
Right. You can see an example of the blue being that Chad encountered, what it looked like to him. That's not the real one. He didn't actually get a picture of the real being, but that's a close representation. You could see the corner where they were taken in New Orleans, and you can read more about their story. And there is so much to the story. You guys, we're going to have to get you on again at some point to talk about it. I think that should be the case.
Look, I think that we have how much time is this campaign going to be running for, Mark?
Well, we have it open for a few months because we really want to get the word out.
I think what we should do is, as the campaign runs down in the next few months, towards the end of it, we should have them back on again to kind of catch up and talk about the process of the campaign, things that have happened, developments, as well as maybe touch on a few of the things that we haven't been able to yet. And just, I think that would be a good idea if they're agreeable to it and would like to come back, obviously.
Such an honor, and thank you so much for thinking of us.
Absolutely. And really quick, I know we're running out of time, but there's a couple of things that I want to discuss about this project. You have, if people donate $10, there's a secret history of the chia seed book. So tell us a little bit about this, the chia seed. You talked to me a little bit before the radio show about it. And can you tell people a little bit about this book, what they would get for donating that $10?
So there's a gentleman that is a native Californian named Bill Anderson, who we think quite highly of, who back in, I believe, the 60s, got involved with the world of chia, became he's an individual who truly cares about human beings and their welfare. He got involved with growers in Mexico, growing this chia seed. He worked very hard to get it implemented into this country, particularly working with indigenous people, Indians on reservations, people of all walk of life. It became undermined. This is just my saying this, my interpretation. I feel it became undermined by the powers that be or whatever is controlling this country to get the world to think of chia as the chia pet that became so popular in the 70s, I think. Nobody understood it to be a superfood. And
I think you use the word bastardization of the chia seed. So by making the chia pet, they were trying to get rid of the idea that this is actually a good food or a superfood. They were trying to make it more of a joke to the general public.
Right, yeah. It's like with pot, same thing.
Absolutely. And so another individual that is working very hard to help us get this book written and published, Paul, became close to Bill Anderson. Paul has been a part of our life for the last many, many years, and he chose to get involved with Bill Anderson to push this forward in this country in particular by doing the research and then writing the chia book. So there's some history. It's a small book, but it's really chock full of information and recipes coming truly from, the highest of authority on this subject.
So that's perfect, and that's so cool. So $10, you will receive the secret history of the chia seed. You'll receive this book written by Paul. For $20, you will get an autographed copy of the book that you guys are going to be putting out, High Strangeness, or I'm not sure if that's the working title yet.
I love that name, by the way. If it's not the final title, it should be, because it's such a marketable and catchy name. I mean, if I saw a book that was titled High Strangeness while browsing the bookstore, I would pull it out immediately and start looking at it.
And for $50, if people donate that, you'll get a reading with Alta. So Alta, do you want to tell us? And I know we're running out of time, so if you could give us the 20-second version of what a reading with you is like.
I work very differently than other readers that I've ever been around. I am the only reader selected to be honored in a book about New Orleans, written by a woman that was a journalist with the Washington Post. I literally let you control the reading. I'm not about telling you things you're not interested in hearing about. I work by guidance. And,
is this done over the phone? Do you do this over the phone?
I do both, over the phone or in person.
For those of us that might be in California or something like that.
I'm sorry?
I was just saying, for those of us that might be in California while you're in Ohio or something like that, if they were to donate that money and get a reading from you, you would be able to still do it via telephone or Skype or whatever.
Absolutely. I've been doing that many years, right? It's all energy as far as I'm concerned, and it works beautifully over the phone.
Well, no, I won't. I'll have to donate the money.
And I'm actually going to get that from you, because I would love a reading from you.
I think I think Mark and I are both going to pony up the funds for that one.
It'd be my honor.
And just to move along here, for $100, you guys own a company. You travel with a craft show currently, and you call your company is Unique Rabbit Shawls. And so for $100, people will receive in the mail one of your unique shawls that are not actually made by a rabbit. You've told me.
Made from rabbits.
From a rabbit. But made by a rabbit. Can you see a rabbit there?
By a rabbit,
just
from
like,
a rabbit, for rabbits.
Eating carrots and making shawls.
Unique critters in the making of the shawls. The shawls are traditionally...
Oh, go ahead, Chad.
The shawls are traditionally Native American.
They're Native American honor shawls, traditionally.
So they're shields in a way too.
They absolutely are.
We fuse them with different fabrics in different cultures. You wouldn't necessarily see it like a powwow. We've also done energy work on them, so they're great for prayer, meditation, healing.
We've also had a couple testimonies over the years of us presenting the shawls, because Chad and I are the only ones in the world that are doing this, where we've opened it up to the world. A couple testimonies, one of a gentleman that had a terminal illness, and his wife and himself claimed that the shawl that was customized for him, they feel that it saved him. Another woman, we just received a testimony a couple weeks ago where she gave her shawl to a friend who was in the hospital, very, very sick, and this woman tells us with tears in her eyes that this woman is no longer sick. So
I think it's the love that you guys put into making them as well that they carry that kind of healing power. So again, how much, Mark? $100 towards the book?
$100 for that, and then
quickly, because we got 2 minutes.
Okay, and then their final thing. I mean, this is great, you guys. Not only are you helping to donate to get a book off the ground and to get this incredible story of theirs off the ground, but you are actually receiving stuff. Like you're getting something for your donation. So it's not a charity case. It's like
two for the price
you are
of one.
helping people, and then you're getting something really cool in return.
For the price of one, actually.
So, yeah, and the last thing is a framed shawl. So I know we only have 2 minutes left. If you guys want to give us the 20-second, thing about what how the framed shawl is different than the unique rabbit shawl.
Well, again, they're the same energy that we put into it, but these are limited edition fabrics that we are using from a Native American trading post. So, they're just a little bit fancier.
More work. As well as they have somewhat of a 3D effect to them, we've been told by viewers.
Awesome. I'm into that. Psychedelics.
Yeah.
So you guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show and sharing your experience with us. This isn't the end. We're going to have you. I know your strangeness continues throughout your lives, and
I know there's so
there'll
many
be more things happening.
And chance to get to,
I know there's just we just don't have enough time, and that's why this book is so important. So we will have you back on the show. We urge anybody out there to really help out with this cause and make it happen. If you believe, if you want to hear the rest of the story, you can be a part of this. So thank you both so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
And to you and to Art and to MJ, thank you all so much for what you're doing for us. And congratulations, Mark, on your intended nuptials.
Yeah, congratulations, Mark.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And you are a genuine nice person. The world needs more of
best. There's nobody better than Mark Schwartz, except for maybe you two. I mean, we're all in commonly good company here. I hate to cut you guys off, but we're up against the clock here. And as Mark said, thank you so much for joining us on the program. I wish so much that we could get to more. But you are listening to TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network. Truthfunders@gmail.com is the email address. Please send us your correspondence. We write to everything that we get, because if you took the time to write us, we should take the time to write you back. Truthfunders@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, on Facebook. Truthfunders.com is where Chad and Alta's project is. Go there now. I'm not kidding. Go now. Stop it now. Go there now and throw a couple bucks their way. We appreciate you guys so much being on the program. My name is Art Webb for Mark Schwartz. We'll talk to you next week. Same time, same channel here on the Inception Radio Network.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.